How do you suffer and not your faith? There are several principles we've shared with you thus far. I want to share another one today. It's the sixth principle. Trust God and His grace in all things. If I really believe that God has appointed even my suffering, ordained it, that is, for me, then I know that there's going to be a grace supplied by God, that He somehow will work even this difficulty out to my good. It reminds me of an old story I read many, many years ago. There was this very poor farmer who had the most beautiful white stallion ever known in that part of the world. In fact, it was so envied that the king of the country wanted to purchase the horse from the old man, but he would not sell it at any price. One day, the horse ended up disappearing. And all the village people came to that old man and said, "You poor fool, we told you you couldn't keep such a valuable animal. You're too poor. You should have sold it. You could have sold it at any price that you had named, and you could have lived the rest of your life comfortably. Now you're financially ruined. The only thing you had of any value is now gone. You've been cursed." The old man calmly replied and said, "You ought not to judge. How can you know if this is a blessing or a curse? You should only say, the horse is gone. You don't know that it was stolen. You don't know what happened. You should simply say, you don't know if this is a blessing or a curse, and learn to accept and see what will happen." 15 days later, the white horse, the beautiful stallion, came back, but he just didn't come back by himself. He came back with 12 wild horses. Evidently, it had run off on its own, went into the forest, and came back with these 12 other animals. Well, the village people gathered around and said, "You were right and we were wrong. This is a blessing. Look, the horses brought back 12 wild horses, and now you can break them and sell them, and you can live comfortably the rest of your days." Again, the elderly man said, "You judge too quickly. How do you know that this is a blessing? You only read a book one page at a time, and at that, one paragraph at a time, and even at that, you only read one word at a time. How can you know the end from just this one phrase or one word or one page of my story?" We don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. Well, the old man had one only son, and the son began to break the wild horses, and in the process of doing so, he was thrown and broke one of his legs. Well, the village people came and said, "You were right, we were wrong. This ended up being a curse. These 12 horses were a curse." Again, the old man corrected them and said, "How do you judge like this? You don't know. You have no way of knowing whether this is a blessing or a curse." A few months later, their country was attacked, and all of their sons were drafted into the military to fight against the invading army. Most of the sons were killed in battle, and the village people came weeping and said, "You were right, you were right. This was a blessing for you. Your son was spared because he broke his leg." And finally the man said to him, to the village, "I don't think I can talk to you people. You just don't understand. We don't have the ability to know the end from the beginning. Only God does. And only God can be trusted with our life story." And that's the point. You see, you and I only see a fragment, the fragment we are in at the moment. If the fragment is difficult, painful, we tend to think pessimistically. If we're going through wonderful times, good times, prospering, we think very positively. You can't. What you can do is this. You can trust God in all things. That's how you suffer and not your faith.